Have you been searching for a community that gets it? Join me, your host Monique, as we get real about the emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual effects infertility has on its victims. Let's connect and heal together. I am 1 in 8 too. Thank you guys for tuning in to Infertility and Me podcast. I am your host Monique, and this morning we'll be having a discussion with Coach Sam Lindley, and she's going to be talking to us all the way from Wiltshire, UK. Sam is a natural healer and has been in the business for 20 years. She works successfully with women who have already attempted IVF and those who have suffered with PCOS and endometriosis, and women who have no idea why they haven't been able to conceive. Sam says her purpose is to bring the gift of fertility healing into the world, and it seems she has a natural gift for this. And we're going to get right into the episode, and I thank you guys so much for tuning in week after week to hear unique stories and journeys from people from all various walks of life and from many different continents. Thank you.
Yeah, so I became a healer about 20 years ago. I'm almost 50 now. And I had gone along to a mediumship evening, so where a group of people come together to receive a reading from a medium. And I'd gone with one of my best friends who had lost two of her brothers at different times of their life. And she was hoping to receive a message. It was kind of the first time I'd gone along to anything like this. I wasn't particularly awake at that point. I wasn't particularly spiritual, but I had an interest with developing. And I went along to this mediumship evening, and the medium was a guy, and he came over to me and he said, "You're a healer." And I was like, what does that even mean? You are a healer? And that really sparked something within me, and I started looking into what a healer was, and actually, just organically, just intuitively, I had a healing energy. People would always come to me with their problems and their worries, and so it was happening already in my life, and I took it to the next stage. I qualified in becoming a Reiki healer, and that was really where my awakening really began. And I spent 20 years developing my healing, and it really, really helped me to heal my life, because 20 years ago, I lived quite a codependent life. I was very dependent on people around me for my own happiness. I never really felt enough. I didn't have a lot of self-worth. And through the healing and developing myself, a lot of self-development, I've able to come to a stage where I have a lot of peace and fulfillment and purpose in my life.
Awesome. What a great story. And
yeah,
I think a lot of people will resonate with that as well if they've had similar,
yes,
transformations is what I like to call it. So that's amazing. And so how did exactly you get into the niche of fertility in those who have battled infertility?
Yes. So another quite interesting story. So I live in the UK, and I moved about 3.5 hours away to be near the coast.
Okay.
I'm a Cancer sign. I'm a water sign. I love being by the water. And what I noticed when I moved to the coast was my psychic abilities really started to heighten. And my work really started to take off in a different way. And I'd left a business card in my previous town where I'd worked previously. And a lady had seen the business card, and she called me up. And she was really, really desperate. She was on her fertility journey, and she'd been on her fertility journey for a good 3 or 4 years. She'd attempted IVF 3 times. Mm-hmm. And she called me and she said, "Look, I'm interested in healing. I've never had healing, but something about your energy kind of called me. Would you help me try to become pregnant?" And I was really transparent at that point. And I said, I've never helped anybody with fertility, but if you're really open, then shall we give this a go? And it meant, because she lived so far away, that we would have our sessions, our one-to-one sessions, via phone every 2 weeks. And what kind of transpired was absolutely incredible. So we had about 4 sessions on the phone, and she was very, very open. And my approach is energetic. I'm an energy healer. So I listened deeply to what she was saying and sharing, but also I'm reading her energy. I'm recognizing her blocks in her energy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, and this is why I believe energy healing for fertility can work really well, because the healing can happen spontaneously.
Mm-hmm.
It does not have to take years. And so what transpired was she had about 4 sessions with me. And then I said to her, look, I feel what would really work for you would, to back this up, is to go and have a womb massage. And this is something that I've since gone on to training.
Mm-hmm.
And she went and had 1 womb massage. And then within that cycle, she became pregnant. And that was just, you know, the absolute joy for her. And, you know, the fact that she didn't have to go through another process of IVF again. And, you know, financially, it cost her a small fortune, and she didn't want to have to go through that again. And that was really the beginning. And she went on to have a beautiful baby girl. And from there, it was very organic. And I do believe sometimes with our calling, with our purpose, that people are just drawn to your energy.
I believe that. Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah,
Do you believe that? Yeah,
I do.
absolutely.
I definitely do. Yeah. It's almost like with the saying that a lot of the younger people use, and they call it finding your tribe, or finding your community. And I think that we draw people to us, and I think that we are drawn to certain types of people and certain energies and auras and things. So I definitely resonate with that.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't know why, do you?
No,
you just really connect with somebody.
Yeah.
And even before you've spoken to them, you're like, you know, I'd love to be in this person's energy.
Yeah, just be in their space. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then really from there, it just kept happening, and ladies would call me up and just say, you know, I'm struggling with fertility, can you help me? And the process seemed to get much quicker. And so quite often now I'll have one session, and more often than not online, I'll have one session with a client, and we are able to kind of get to the block really, really quickly. And, you know, I'll ask prompting questions, because sometimes when, you know, I kind of touch the spot and then the emotions come for that person, that shifts energy. So it's incredibly simple. The process is incredibly simple, but very, very powerful. So then the next lady that approached me, she had 3 miscarriages, and she was in a lot of pain. She really, really wanted a baby. And we had one session together. And within that one session, I did a visualization with her. And within that visualization, she could really connect with this little baby that she so desperately wanted. And she conceived in that cycle. And so the process started to get a lot quicker. And I was almost like, what is happening here? You know, something much bigger than me is happening here. You know, a higher power is at work here. And I had to just keep trusting that what was coming through was right for that particular client. And then that just kept happening, and it just kept repeating. And then most recently, I trained in womb massage, which is a wonderful way of working with a client, because it's hands-on, it's beautifully nurturing. So the lady feels very, very supported and held in a really sacred space. And this one particular lady had problems with gynae problems, and also she had a cyst on her ovary, and she was due to start IVF next month. And she came for one womb massage, and she conceived in that cycle. So I kind of combine either just online for a client who works far, far away. It's
Right.
just online. And then I really wanted to have that option of coming to have a womb massage and having hands-on where I could actually move the energy within that womb space. And so far, both are working really, really well. And I just trust that if somebody can only work with me online, that is the way that we're meant to work together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I love that. And I love how you said, we were just speaking about just being in a place where we where our energy draws people to us without having to do much.
Yeah.
And I think and for those who are spiritual will understand that it's about raising your vibration to a level where it meets where you need to be in order to make those kinds of connections, because you can't do it when you're in a place of desperation, and you can't do it. You can't reach it when you're in a place of not knowing who you are, to a certain extent.
True.
You know what I mean? So I think that's really powerful, and
that's so true. And you notice if you're having a low vibe day, it happens to all of us.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're having a low vibe day, how that just wouldn't work for you on a low vibe day. Like not necessarily the transformation that happens on a coaching session might not happen if you're having a really low vibe day. Yeah, because you're not open, your energy's not open, you're not aligned to me necessarily. And so what I notice is the people that this work works with, they've got themselves into a higher vibration so that this can happen. And recognizing that, especially on your fertility journey, because every day is crucial in your cycle, isn't it? You live by your cycle, and this can bring up a huge amount of energy around controlling, wanting something to happen in a certain way, in a certain time frame, can be a huge block, but also it can bring your vibration right down. Yeah. So I really get that. That's a really good point.
And then I like what you said just now too about control, and a lot of raising the vibration and reaching a new level spiritually is about losing control. So
it's almost the opposite, isn't it? I say to my clients, like in our first session, because that's always coming up to them, I haven't come across one lady yet who's not trying to control how this works. And I say to them, like, what is the absolute opposite of what you're doing right now, which is trying to control, which is quite often rigid mindset, rigid thinking, and it is surrendering. It is giving this over to what I believe a higher power. There's something more at work here than just us. And the moment that we get that, the moment we surrender, we give this over and we trust like never before, there's something that happens, like you're saying, your vibration raises, you feel more open, and therefore your whole energetic being becomes open. And that's when that person will come in, and she's the person who helps you on your fertility journey. So something that really came in this morning when I was preparing for this is, about if a certain approach has not been working, mix it up, try something different, because energy loves change.
Yeah, that's true.
So it can be even starting to exercise, like just moving energy in our body can help.
Yeah, that's one of the basic principles, is to get moving, to get your protons, your neurons, and all those other things moving, because those things are what make up our energy. So
absolutely.
And getting out of a stagnant place. I think by I really I can imagine for people who have office jobs, how stagnant they become throughout the day if they don't get up and move around. I have a friend actually who gets up and she moves
Yep.
around, and then she'll during her break for work, she'll meditate. And
Wow.
yeah, and her boss allows her that time, and it's amazing that companies are actually realizing how effective it is for people to get up and move
Yes.
around and to just have a moment and breathe. Because meditation can come in many forms. It could just be going outside and taking, lots of deep breaths of air, and just
Yes.
connecting to ourselves in
Yes. And what a
a more
different
powerful way.
approach
Yeah.
you would have to your work.
Yeah.
When you're taking regular breaks and maybe doing a walking meditation, or you're present at your desk having a break, or, what a completely different approach you would have to work.
Yeah. And I think that's why children it just reminds me, because I am in the toddler phase with my son, it reminds me so much of just the way children move all the time. And it seems that they are happiest in those times.
Yes.
And
That's
I
so
think that is
true.
so interesting. It just came to me like that.
Yes.
That's
They
amazing.
don't want to sit still. They
Yeah,
just want to move, don't they?
And that
Yeah.
says a lot about what we could do as adults in getting more movement in our life. And
absolutely. And I really believe that movement in any way. So if you're stuck, so say you're on your fertility journey and you've been trying a certain approach, mix it up. Try something completely different.
Yeah.
Mix up your life. Another way of approaching this is, many females on their fertility journey will kind of get stuck and stay in a limbo. So they won't be enjoying life fully because they're so, it becomes an obsession. It's like, unless I'm pregnant, I cannot live my life fully. I cannot allow myself to be happy.
Yeah.
And so, what shifts that quicker than anything is for you to start just focusing on being present to life as it is right now and not making anything wrong.
Yeah.
And starting to allow joy back in, starting to enjoy life. And that shifts that low vibration very, very quickly.
I've been talking a lot about that recently on my Instagram page, and I did a live, and that's one of the key takeaways that I wanted people to understand was that I didn't do a live, I'm sorry, I did an IGTV. So, and that's one of the key takeaways that I wanted people to understand, and I hope the message was clear, was that there's life outside of the journey. And you need to I also said to give yourself a break after you get diagnosis and figure out exactly what form of playing you're going to use, or what forms of playing you're going to use, because you can add acupuncture, and like you said, you could add Reiki into the journey, and massages, just get a whole workout and do many different forms of meditation and connecting with your feminine energy in your womb. Because if you're going to do IVF, which I did, you have to implement some things of normalcy and some things of relaxation and some things that just take you completely outside of that and help you stay grounded. And it took me a very long time in my journey to figure that out. Even though I was always very spiritual, at the time in the beginning, I didn't understand how important it was to do those things that keep me grounded, to continue the activities, the hobbies, and all the senses of normalcy, and I did Reiki and everything, and it helped because I actually had a right tubal blockage, and when I went back 4 years later, it was gone. So I can exactly, and I haven't told many people that was like my little secret. That was like my little secret. So I'm coming out of the closet with that one.
That's huge. That's huge. That's a huge message to share.
I definitely did it. And it felt amazing. It was about a 45-minute session. I'll never forget it. It was in Virginia, and the lady was very loving and very she patient with me, because it was a new experience for me in that way. And I did that 2.5 years after actually getting diagnosis of right tubal blockage.
Wow.
when the radiologist saw it, they're like, okay, well, we have your information here. It says your right tube is supposed to be blocked. And, his explanation from his analytical and logical mind was that it must have been mucus, maybe from the menses, some tissue got stuck in there, and now it has cleared itself out. Whatever the blockage was, because I never got tested to see or have it removed by a doctor to see what it was exactly and get it biopsied. So I just let it be. And I was like, you know what it's going to be, it's going to be,
Absolutely. But what an incredible message to share. And I believe that because I live and breathe my healing, and I speak to other healers, and this is things that happen every single day.
Yeah, the unexplainable explained.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And I think it gives hope to other people to try different healing modalities as well as the medical processes.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to try completely the holistic route, then do that too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because then it'll give your body rest and detoxification from medicine. From everyday medicines that we take during this. It's so many medicines that people take. It's like, oh my gosh. It's crazy how much medicine you take. So I think it's important for people to take breaks, especially after diagnosis. Really get clear about what you're going to do, and tap into yourself, and tap into your subconscious mind, and connect with your creator if you believe. And if you don't believe, just figure it out. And I think it's important for people to process, because and I'm pretty sure a lot of your clients tell you that you go through all of these motions with IVF and IUI, ICSI for the men, and all these different approaches. But most people do not sit and let it resonate. And I think it's very important, and I learned from my journey, is to sit in it and to let it resonate and to feel what you need to feel and come to terms with it. And that's taking care of the emotional and mental side of it. So I think that's really important. And I think a lot of your work is probably helping people in that way.
Yes, definitely. And not maybe just thinking that one way is the only way.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, that's so important. It's so very important that I think that society has us trained to believe that there's only one way to do things.
Yes.
And then when we find out, well, sheesh, there's all these other things I could do to help me solve this problem or to help me get through it. And that's why I think a lot of people find the awakening process so awakening, because they forget. That childlike sense of intuition can sometimes take a back burner. And
it can, and we're conditioned to think in such a linear way. And some of the work that I do is very much about bringing the feminine in, and men are linear, females aren't, but we seem to have become much more linear and single-minded in our approach to our lives. And so the feminine she's intuitive. She listens to her intuition. So for somebody who is opening up to the holistic approach, there's a reason that you're being called to look into this further. As a female, we are so intuitive. So when somebody new who maybe has a holistic approach comes into our life, I always believe that's for a reason. And many of the ladies that I've worked with, they haven't been particularly awakened on their spiritual path, but they've had an interest in trying something different. And I think that makes a huge difference to the results that we see. Because if you haven't got that open-mindedness, then that's a block in itself.
Yeah,
really
I think that with medicine and all its greatness and what it does for people, it's almost like I don't know. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's almost like, okay, we're open to IVF because we can see these tangible things happening, and whether it's successful or not, we keep going. So with spirituality and dealing with the unseen, or like your clients coming in and suddenly being healed or suddenly getting pregnant, what's the way trying to think of the word I'm trying to say, but it's like, okay, if you can have faith in today's medicine,
yes,
then why not? Then why not try this way too? Why
absolutely.
not open your heart, your spirit, and your mind to allowing the universe and the creator to come in and do an inner working on you, and submitting, because we have to submit to infertility and the fact that we may need help, right? So why
Yes.
not submit ourselves to the creator and to the universe? Why not submit to that too? Why not just do it all encompassing? And
Yes.
I think that's why I appreciate your work so much, because it's doing that. It's helping people to tap into, like you said, the feminine energy and coming out of the analytical mind. Because I think we get stuck in that. I think we get stuck in the analytical side of our brain.
Definitely. And it becomes a loop. It becomes a constant loop of a way of thinking. And the feminine that's not her truth.
No.
That's not her truth. So, when that first lady contacted me, even though she wasn't particularly spiritually awake, she knew there was something deep within her that said, contact this lady. And, even when I said, look, I'm 3.5 hours away from you now, I won't be able to see you in person. There was still something intuitively that said, this is the right person. And when we trust that inner knowing, miracles happen in our lives. When I've trusted that in my life, when I've worked with certain coaches or mentors, I haven't always got what I thought I needed or wanted, but I've absolutely got what I needed. So I didn't always get what I wanted, but I always got what I needed.
Yeah.
And it's just a trusting that if something feels aligned, if something feels right, then that is feeling like that for a reason, just as much as when something feels wrong. As females, we know when something feels wrong. It feels yucky, it feels off. But quite often we override that through thinking it through, and we talk ourselves into doing things that actually are not aligned for us. So with this particular client, she knew she didn't want to put her body through another round of IVF. So she was, because pain causes us to make changes. So she was in so much pain by this point emotionally that she knew that she had to try something different. And that was what caused her to do the work with me. And I see this very often, is I won't be your first port of call. You will probably be on quite a process before you come to me. And it's the amount of pain that you're in that will cause you to try something completely different. And I see that all of the time. And it's what I would suggest to your listeners is, don't leave that cycle too long. Because, I've spoken to some potential clients who are maybe 7, 8, 10 years on their fertility journey, further down the path, and they're like, do you know what, it's so hard for me to even try this approach, because I'm down that black hole so far that I don't think this approach would work. Whereas the ladies that I've had really good results with, they're maybe 3, 4, 5 years down their fertility journey, but they're still open. There's a glimpse of, you could prise them open a little bit, enough to get in there and for this work to actually work.
That's powerful. And you know what, even for the people that come to you and they consult with you, and maybe you do like a free consult or something like that, or 15-minute consult. I think it's, even when they say that there is still too far down in the rabbit hole for it to essentially be brought out of them, I think that just coming into contact with you is enough, because spirit is spirit, and spirit is omnipresent. So I think just coming in contact with your spirit is enough to direct them in a different direction. Even if they don't come back to you necessarily, but maybe starting,
it plants the seed,
exactly
it plants the seed that actually that first consultation might have just prized them open a little bit, but maybe they're thinking, maybe they're still rigidly thinking, and it's like, well, that's not going to work work for me. But you never know, they might do a few more cycles and not conceive and then come back.
Yeah.
So we have to work with people with where they are right now. And I am not a believer about trying to sell my work, because that is absolutely the wrong energy, and it would not work. So we can only share our own journeys, can't we? And the work that we're doing and the results we're getting. And those people who are ready, absolutely ready to work with you, they will feel that and they will walk towards you. You never have to sell what you're doing, because those people just know energetically that actually I'm 6 months on now, I'm a year on, but actually I'm ready to try this. And that's the energy that they would be in when they come and work with me.
Yeah. And it's just like we said in the beginning, and like you said in the beginning, that the energies find each other. You find each other even when you're not subconsciously aware of it. You find each other. Well, you're not consciously aware of it, I should say, because your subconscious is always with the spirit. So even they're not consciously aware of it, and they just it's like being in a car and you end up in one destination. You know what I mean? And you're expecting to go another place. So
absolutely,
I think that's really powerful, and I believe that when social media is used with in an intentional way to help people, this is how we connect. Because here we are. I'm in the US, and you're in the UK. And I'm
how did that happen?
And how does that happen? It would never have happened
No,
outside of social
absolutely.
media. You know what I mean? And it would never have happened. It would just never have happened because. And then I think because we both are using it in an intentional way, and that is why we draw,
absolutely. And your energy called me immediately. It was just when I'd started coming on Instagram to share my work, and I was drawn to your energy really, really quickly. And and I just felt it was aligned, just completely aligned. And this is what happens. And I just want to touch on something about our subconscious. So sometimes a female will come to me and she's had trauma from her childhood. I just want to bring this in because this might speak to some of your listeners. Absolutely. So when we've had trauma from our childhood, subconsciously we may have a block about becoming a parent. Because on an unconscious level, we might not want to put a child through that ourselves. We might still be holding on to pain from our own childhood. And when we recognize that might be happening, and as a healer, I start working with that person to move through that and to allow herself to feel those emotions and move through that so it can heal. There's some big shifts that come. So I really wanted to bring that in because some people really don't know what the block is, why this isn't happening. But sometimes it can be that we have some fear about becoming a parent because we experience maybe a very a dysfunctional family dynamic or childhood trauma or abuse, something like that, and that can very much play out, but we're not conscious of it. So I wanted to bring that, just it might wake something up in some of your listeners that actually maybe that's somewhere where I could be looking at and looking to heal that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I'm so glad you said that because that was part of my Reiki session as well. In dealing with childhood trauma and saying goodbye to it, and it's a powerful tool. I'm telling you guys,
it is. Looking and just bringing it into the light. So a lot of this stuff stays in our shadow. It stays in our unconscious, and when somebody brings it up, when I because I have quite a in-depth consultation form that I give my clients, and I'll always ask about childhood. And when I can, very quickly see that there was some trauma there, that wants to come into the light. It wants to heal. Yeah. So again, I feel like, the healing path is very, very powerful for anybody who has experienced any kind of trauma, dysfunction, or abuse in their childhood, and indeed as an adult as well, because that energy can unconsciously block fertility.
Yeah. And anybody who knows anything a little, even just a little bit about spirit, and even if it's someone who's religious, because there was a time when I was very religious, and I was actually a minister in the Christian faith. So even in Christianity and Catholicism and such, you use your tools. So I feel like coming to you as a coach, you provide a service and you provide tools to help with the journey. And we also, and I still pray and I meditate and such, because I have a different understanding of what those things are now. So I think that people, and really to pray and to meditate is really just to get in touch with yourself and to tune into what your subconscious, which is always connected to spirit, is trying to speak to you and tell you. And it's very important that we allow that quiet time. And I'm really loving this 5 a.m. time right now in the U.S. because it is so freaking peaceful and quiet. I really have to get on this thing and get up earlier before the baby. This is amazing.
I'm doing that right now, Monique. I'm trying to.
Are you?
Yes, I'm trying to get up a little bit earlier each day, and I have to say, I feel so much more energized when I do that.
Yeah, maybe I can stop drinking coffee too. I have to get back to that. That's a topic for a different discussion. Yeah, one thing at a time. But this is amazing, Coach Sam. I love it. This is amazing. I'm so glad we got to connect.
Yes, so am I.
And to bring people into greater awareness. And I think maybe we'll have to do another session and just get a little deeper. Just get a little deeper with the thing. So this is amazing. Oh my gosh. I appreciate your insight and your intuitive insight as well. And I hope that the listeners really listen and go beyond, religion and all those things that can sometimes
absolutely
blind us, you know what I mean? So
absolutely. And just a few quick tips that I've kind of noted down are: one, rigid thinking is, I believe, number one block. So stay open, try something different, have a different approach, mix it up, get your body moving, have a massage so that energy can start moving around your womb space. And the next tip is trust in a higher power. Trust that this is not all down to you. That's a huge responsibility. Amazing. Surrender, give this over to the divine or whatever your belief system is, and trust like you've never trusted before, because that just absolutely shifts your energy out of control into a surrendering. And what happens is your whole being opens up, and you start to notice signs and synchronicities, people coming into your life. You might read something that you're like, oh my gosh, I need to try that. And that is your path to conceive. So I just wanted to bring those couple of tips.
Amazing. Yeah. I think that's short, sweet, and to the point. And very clear. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you, Coach Sam, again, so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been an absolute